A rat is released in a lab, only to find itself locked in a cage. It senses the food when an unseen force seizes it and consumes it. Sebastian is diligently working on his computer, focused on a chemical formula, when suddenly, the simulation fails. He watches his neighbor undress, feeling a sense of disappointment as she pulls the curtain shut. Shortly after, he has a breakthrough and modifies the chemical formula, initiating another simulation. This time, it shows the element is stable. Sebastian calls Linda to share the solution. Upon seeing the man asleep in her bed, she firmly informs him that it is no longer his concern. He demonstrates to Linda that he has successfully cracked the chemical solution for reversion. She's quite impressed that he managed to solve it unexpectedly. Linda gently wakes Matt, informing him that it's time to head to the lab. She suggests they take their own cars, but Matt believes she should inform Sebastian about them at the appropriate moment. That morning, Sebastian arrives at the lab, which is situated within a heavily guarded compound. He scans his fingerprint to enter the elevator and recites his password. Within the lab, the unseen creatures reveal themselves solely through thermal imaging. Matt gently pets an orangutan and cheerfully greets a gorilla named Isabel. All the animals go into a frenzy when she leaps to the cage. He dons thermal goggles to observe her and soothe the animal. As he enters to sedate her, she unexpectedly bites him and then makes a swift escape. Matt chases her through the lab and runs into Sebastian, informing him that she's been exhibiting more aggressive behavior. Isabel has been invisible for far too long. It's beginning to take a toll on her mind. Sebastian grabs a tranquilizer gun and challenges Matt to a bet on who will reach her first. They locate her and trap her. Sebastian administers the tranquilizer to her. Sarah storms toward them, arguing with Sebastian about injecting Isabel with the serum before it's tested. She believes it's unethical. However, he argues it will save time. He dismisses her objections. Linda joins them, reminding Sebastian that he hired Sarah because she's the best vet in the country. Later, Linda is preparing the serum and informs Sebastian that she'll be ready shortly. Sarah tells him that the gorilla is doing well. Just then, Carter walks in, stating that he's only the medical standby. Frank calls in from tech and informs them that they are ready as well. Linda secures the serum into the injection gun while Matt prepares it for use. Sarah searches for a vein in Isabel's arm. Once she locates it, Sebastian takes the gun from Matt, declaring that he will handle it. He injects her and the serum visibly courses through her veins and body. Her heartbeat is elevated. The gorilla's body starts to emerge and they feel a sense of joy that it's all coming together. Suddenly, her condition deteriorates and she goes into cardiac arrest. Isabel's heart stops. Linda quickly responds by shocking her with a defibrillator. She continues to do it several times until her heart begins to race once more. As Isabel starts to stabilize, her body gradually becomes more visible. Tech informs them that her quantum signatures have stabilized. Everyone celebrates their achievement. Sarah believes that she will be all right. Later, they all escort her back to her cell together. Sebastian informs Sarah to prepare herself for a vivisection on Monday. When her anger escalates, Matt steps in to assure her that he was just joking. And he is. Kind of. Linda enthusiastically jumps in and suggests they go to celebrate their success. They are celebrating in a restaurant. Linda and Sebastian share a heartfelt conversation as he expresses his desire to rekindle their relationship. She turns him down. He returns to the lab to check on Isabel. There's an invisible dog there too. He pets it and asks, "What's it like being invisible?" After a while, Sebastian shares their discoveries with a Pentagon committee. Dr. Kramer inquires to Sebastian about how they address the issue of reversion, and he deceitfully claims that they haven't resolved it, much to Linda's and Matt's astonishment. Kramer insists that results are needed promptly, and if they can't achieve success, he'll seek a replacement. Linda and Matt are furious with him. However, Sebastian clarifies that if they had reported their findings, the Pentagon would have completely taken over their project. He proposes that they proceed to conduct human trials on their own without any authorization. Sebastian informs them that this is their opportunity to transform the world and earn the Nobel Prize. Matt is concerned that they might face consequences. Later, they share the plan with the team, and none of them are pleased with it. Sebastian attempts to persuade them, yet Sarah is in disbelief that the committee gave it the green light. Sebastian remains unfazed by their opinions and asserts that they will proceed with it no matter what. On the day of the procedure, Matt tells Sebastian that he could change his mind. However, Sebastian just mocks him. They walk inside. Sebastian gets on the bed. Then, they connect him to enforce drip and restrain him. He mentions feeling somewhat tense, and his heart rate has increased as a result. Frank and Janice are in a heated debate about who will inherit his Porsche in the event of his death. They irradiate the serum and bring it over to Sebastian. He insists on injecting it himself, stating that if anything goes wrong, the others can't be held responsible. He injects the serum, and Linda calls out at that very moment. Everyone begins to panic, worried that they don't see any immediate changes to his body. Suddenly, Sebastian starts to feel something. He starts to convulse, and the process of becoming invisible begins with patches appearing all over his body. Sebastian expresses that the pain is far greater than he anticipated. Frank informs them that he is on the brink of a seizure. As he turns invisible, his vital signs grow increasingly erratic. They prepare the defibrillator, and Frank informs them that he's starting to shift. In response, Matt instructs them to hold off on the paddles. They all observe him transform as his vital signs steady. When he becomes completely invisible, it is Frank who identifies the exact moment the phase shift takes place. Matt says he's okay, but he's in shock due to the trauma. 17 hours later, Sebastian awakens with a scream of pain, pleading with Linda and Matt to turn off the lights. He claims he can't close his eyes. Linda responds, saying he can, but that his eyelids are transparent. Sebastian rises and approaches the mirror, followed by the three of them as they head towards the main area of the lab. He quickly begins to play around with everyone, until Frank grabs a pair of goggles and spots him wearing them. Matt and Linda escort him back to his room, where they activate the observation monitor. Meanwhile, Sarah is doing the same in the adjacent room. She will take the first shift, and Carter will take the next one. Sarah grabs the final monitor and switches off the lights. Before long, she drifts off to sleep, and Sebastian makes his way through the lab, entering the observation room. Sarah wakes up and calls out, wondering if he's there. She glances at the monitors, but just as she turns around, he slips back into bed. The following day, she confides in Linda about the incident, yet she grapples with uncertainty over whether it truly occurred, leaving her feeling terrible. Linda is uncertain about her next steps, and Matt is eager to have a conversation with him, but Sarah advises against it. Later, he checks Sebastian's vitals, questioning him as if it's part of the procedure. The results indicate that everything is normal. Sarah removes the medical device from him, and he somehow makes her feel even more uneasy. Frank and Janice enter the lab. She heads to the restroom, but an unsettling feeling creeps in. Someone seems to be watching her. To ease her mind, she dons the thermal goggles, allowing her to relieve herself in peace. She shares the same with Carter after lunch. The team discusses Sebastian and the possibilities of what he might do now that he's invisible. It appears that everyone is in consensus that he won't be involved in anything positive. Once they exit the kitchen, a chair that seemed vacant suddenly spins around. He had been listening to them the entire time. That night, it is Linda's shift in the lab. She is working on the serum when Sebastian starts to mess with her as well, shifting her Coke can around the lab. He starts to give her a massage and inquires if she's curious about what it would feel like to make love with an invisible man on his final night in that condition. She turns down his advances. On the following day, Matt and Carter get ready to prepare the serum that will phase him back. Linda then sprays his arm, allowing them to see his veins clearly. They inject him with the serum, and it shows up just like it did with Isabel before. The moment more of his organs start to appear, he exclaims that something isn't right and begins to choke. His vitals grew erratic. Sarah realizes that his lungs are seized, and she urgently tells Carter to intubate him. Sebastian breaks free from his restraints, prompting the men to hold him down. With an astonishing burst of strength, he shoves Carter away and sends Matt sprawling. Rising to his feet, he appears dazed, his flesh flickering in and out of existence once more. Sarah and Linda intubate him before he becomes invisible again while Matt compresses his heart. They detect a pulse, yet he slips into shock as he vanishes once more. Sebastian awakens later with Linda beside him. She informs him that he came very close to dying. He mentions that the committee doesn't need to be informed about what occurred just yet, as he will be in that state for some time. They create for him a synthetic mask. Linda carefully cuts a slit for the mouth and 2 holes for his eyes, all while a mask remains on him. Matt hands him a mirror, allowing him to catch a glimpse of himself. Now they need to determine what went wrong. Linda and Matt are working from home, but they're struggling to figure out the formula for the reversion serum. He claims he's not a genius like Sebastian, who can effortlessly leap to the correct conclusion. 10 days later, Sebastian is becoming physically and mentally unwell due to the relentless testing they have been subjecting him to. He has a disagreement with Matt about it. Afterward, Linda offers him comfort. Sebastian expresses that what they are doing for him falls short. That night, he can no longer bear being there, so he makes the decision to leave. He informs Carter, yet he cannot allow him to depart, as the regulations prohibit it. Sebastian states that it's his rule, and he has the authority to change it. He departs, assuring him that he will return in a few hours. Carter gives Linda a call to share the news. Sebastian skillfully evades the police guard outside, who has started to fret over the stillness of his car, and smoothly drives out of the compound. He halts at a traffic light, startling a couple of kids nearby. Linda and Matt step out of their apartment, heading back to the lab. She remarks that he could be anywhere. Sebastian enters his apartment, collecting a few items to take back to the lab. Suddenly, he notices his neighbor undressing once more. Moments later, his neighbor is in the shower when the doorbell rings. She notices the hallway is empty, yet the doorbell rings again. With a sense of curiosity, she opens the door and steps outside, allowing plenty of space for Sebastian to enter. He follows her to her room and gazes at her. He starts to shift her mirror, causing her to feel frightened. Sebastian seizes her and assaults her. Meanwhile, Linda searches for him in his apartment. The door is unlocked. She steps inside and notices that he has left his mask there. Sebastian departs from his neighbor, who is in tears, and notices that Linda is in his apartment. Back at the lab, everyone is preparing to search for him. They exchange equipment and discuss how no one outside their group can discover what he truly is. Out of nowhere, Sebastian shows up and informs them that he just swung by his apartment to grab a few things. Linda confronts him, expressing what she witnessed in his apartment, and Matt questions him about the need to go public. Sebastian asserts that he remains the project leader and the decision rests with him. Linda warns him that she will report him to the committee if he leaves the lab again. After everyone departs, Sarah learns from Linda that the committee remains unaware of their actions, but Linda assures her that she will keep it a secret. Linda and Matt are curious about whether Sebastian's invisibility is beginning to impact his mind. The following day, Carter conducts tests on Sebastian, and they discuss his activities from the previous night. Sebastian doesn't exactly reveal his actions, but he twists the narrative just enough to elicit a favorable response from Carter. That night, Linda is peacefully sleeping when Sebastian gently pulls her covers away and starts to undress her. Suddenly, her phone rings, jolting her awake from nightmare. Matt shares with her that he believes he has discovered the solution. Next, they are seen in the lab, explaining it to Sebastian and the rest of the team. They run a simulation, and it reaches only 95% before it begins to break down. This sends Sebastian into a rage spiral, prompting him to leave. Linda pursues him, confronting him about how he treats Matt, insisting that he's attempting to fix him. Sebastian expresses that he possesses a gift he cannot utilize, and if she weren't so short-sighted, she would allow him to explore it. Later, he comes up with an idea regarding the security camera and informs Frank that he will be in the lab. He gathers some tools and sets up the camera to create the illusion that he's present. Following that, he heads to Linda's apartment and observes her from a distance. Matt enters her apartment, igniting Sebastian's anger. As they retreat to the other room to share an intimate moment, he shatters the window. Matt doesn't see anything, so Linda calls the lab to check if Sebastian's there. Frank spots him on the rigged camera. Back in the lab, Sebastian is absolutely furious with Linda. The dog continues to bark, escalating the situation, prompting him to approach its cage and end its life in a brutal manner. Sarah discovers the dog the following day. She confronts Sebastian about it right away, but she doesn't get anywhere with him. They review the security footage, revealing him in bed throughout the entire night. Later, Linda finds herself in her room, believing that Sebastian is present. She claims he's not being funny and tosses a blanket over the spot where she believes he's standing. In a panic, she bolts from her apartment and jumps into her car. Linda drives to the lab. Matt informs her that Sebastian is asleep, as indicated on the monitor. However, she decides to check his room anyway. She comes to the realization that he's no longer there and deduces that he tampered with the camera. Linda gathers everyone back in the lab. Sebastian is outside. Janice inquires whether they will pursue him, but Linda believes they ought to approach the committee instead. Matt mentions that he's been going out night after night, and they have no clue about what he's been up to. Linda informs everyone that she and Matt will take full responsibility in front of the committee. Sebastian is present, attentively listening to their conversation. As they are leaving, Matt mentions that they will brief the team the following day. Later, they find themselves at Kramer's house, while Sebastian watches them from outside. Kramer states that he will reach out to all the necessary individuals while ushering Linda and Matt out the door, instructing them to gather their belongings. Kramer heads to make the call, but his phone is out of battery. He hears the door and steps into the yard. Sebastian emerges from the swirling smoke of his pipe, then forcefully shoves him into the pool, drowning him mercilessly. Sebastian emerges from the pool just as Kramer's wife descends to see how he is doing. The following day, Linda returns to the lab, and Sebastian surprises her. He mentions that it will be a busy day. Matt informs her that he returned at 3 a.m. and has been roaming the lab ever since. Since Kramer hasn't returned their call, Linda decides to reach out to him. His wife informs her that he has drowned. Linda attempts to reach one of the generals, but the call disconnects. Matt checks the phone and discovers there's no outside line. He promptly heads to inform security. As they step into the elevator, their passwords are not accepted. They return, and Frank inspects the security system. Meanwhile, Matt mentions that it might take a few days for someone to discover their presence there. Frank discovers that the system is functioning perfectly. However, Sebastian has revoked all of their access. They grab their goggles and leave, except for Janice, who forgets hers and comes back. As she steps outside the door, Sebastian takes her life. The others search for him in his room. Linda inquires about his location. Sebastian confides in her that he simply can't allow them to betray him, as he relishes his power far too much. He also informs them that Kramer passed away before he could tell anyone. Linda notices Janice's absence, prompting them to dash off in search of her. Her body is discovered in a locker. Carter believes that Sebastian has lost his grip, while Matt is convinced that he orchestrated the entire situation, anticipating that they would betray him. Sarah slaps Linda, shouting that she could have halted the experiment at any moment. Frank is in agreement with her. Carter simply wants to find out what actions they should take. Linda states that they will not be waiting around. The team activates the motion detectors and spots him on the monitor. Matt and Carter set out to find him, while the others keep a watchful eye on their surroundings. The two parted ways. When Frank and Sarah return, Linda loses him on the monitors, and Matt nearly shoots Carter. They believe they've spotted him, and Matt rushes in to take him down, only to discover it's just a vent. Sebastian seizes Carter, and as Matt pivots, he starts firing, striking one of the pipes. Sebastian is visible through the vapor, prompting him to take another shot. He drops Carter, causing him serious harm. Linda informs Matt that Sebastian is present. In response, he fires at the pipes once more, gaining sight of Sebastian. However, Sebastian manages to escape, leaving Matt trapped in the tunnel. However, he stayed on Matt's side of the door. He just couldn't see him because he had raised the heat, rendering the goggles useless. Linda steps out to assist Matt, instructing the others to fetch Carter. Matt attempts a different strategy to confront him, leading to a heated argument about Linda, which escalates into Matt striking him. She leaves Frank there, applying pressure to his wound until she can get blood for a transfusion. As Sarah takes packets of blood from the lab, she suddenly hears Sebastian enter the room. She pours the blood on the ground, eager to see him, and waits for a moment. When he doesn't show up, she grabs the last remaining pack and heads to the other door just as he reaches out to her from across the room. She opens the pack and pours it on him. However, he still gains the upper hand and shoots her with a tranquilizer gun. Then, he breaks her neck. At the same moment, Linda and Matt discover Frank right as Carter takes his last breath. They return to the lab. Linda discovers Sarah. Then, Sebastian kills Frank when he has his back turned. He injures Matt as well and confines them in the freezer. Linda applies duct tape to seal Matt's wound. Meanwhile, Sebastian is preparing to make his long-awaited escape. Matt loses consciousness while Linda desperately attempts to break free from Freezer. She comes up with a plan on how to achieve that. Meanwhile, Sebastian is gathering everything he needs to blow up the lab. He prepares a mixture and hurls it like a grenade to test it. Linda creates a magnet with a defibrillator, then opens the door by pulling the lever with a magnet. She takes Matt outside and starts a fire to warm him up. Before she departs, Linda grabs a gas tank. At the same time, Sebastian prepares a bomb by placing the mixture into a lab device set for 5 minutes. As he steps into the elevator, Linda swiftly approaches him and ignites a blaze. She keeps at it while he struggles to remove his clothes before they meld with his skin. Linda loses gas in the tank and Sebastian escapes. Next, she activates the sprinkler system. He stealthily approaches her and attacks, intent on ending her life. Out of nowhere, Matt shows up and knocks him out. Sebastian is still alive and he launches another attack but accidentally electrocutes himself in the process. His body briefly becomes visible. They discover the bomb, prompting them to sprint and take refuge in the elevator shaft. Matt goes first, Linda follows. The bomb explodes, sending the elevator shooting up the shaft. They conceal themselves within time, yet it inevitably returns, halting right above them. They keep climbing, but then Sebastian grabs Linda. In their struggle, they tumble back onto the elevator, causing it to descend once more. She and Sebastian struggle, and when he kisses her, she clings to the cable and releases the elevator. Sebastian tumbles into the flames while Linda ascends towards Matt. The two of them emerge from the lab alive.